Chris, take it away from here. Thank you. Chris, I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Yay! Hi, everyone. Good morning. Redo. Snow, is it your birthday? Because I see a happy birthday sign behind you. Well, for anyone that's celebrating a birthday in quarantine, I know Andrea's husband is happy birthday. If you don't know how to update your name, because I just did it for the first time and you want to let us know who you are, you just hover on your own little square. You'll see mute and then you'll see 3 little dots. If you click on those little dots, your third option is to rename. So that's just how you do that if you want to do that. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. And thank you for being eager participants in your own marketing and success. I feel like that's really where the content is, and I'm just here to help facilitate that. So again, my name is Chris. I feel like I recognize your faces, and I definitely recognize your names from the sign-up list. I love small business, and in particular, I help independent retailers and makers and designers learn how to profit in simple steps. That's it, and video is part of that. So what I want to do is give you a quick outline of what you can expect today. And before we get into what is going well, what the other questions are, I want to recap what we learned last week, because I think that's just like good practice. All right, so let's get ready. Oh, I'm really hyper, and I feel like you all bring it out in me, which that makes me happy. Okay, so what we've learned, so we're just going to recap before I move on. And then I want to hear from you in the last week what you've learned on your own as you've been implementing new strategies, or what you've learned even outside of anything that we're doing as a community together. Then I'll share what I observed from the videos that you tagged me in. So just like full on shout outs. If I could do an air horn, I would do that for you. There's 4 air horns right here. And then like what's next? So that's kind of going to be our journey. Feel free to raise your hand and ask questions, because this actually is the time where you can just like, I have a question. All right. So last week, what we really talked about was, just as a recap of like why video matters, and video in context to everything else. So I don't know, because this is a little backlit, but on this corner, what if we think about the sand timer and like what 30 minutes is, what 15 minutes is, what 2 minutes is, video is kind of nested within your entire marketing strategy. So marketing is like a whole host of things that I know you're all too familiar with. And then content marketing sits within that. And really the concept of content marketing is, how do we make every customer be their own hero and feel like, yeah, I made a good purchase. I'm smart. I did it. I got more worth out of it, more value out of it than what I paid for it. We want to make them feel really successful in how they use it, how they take care of it, and all their friends to be really happy and make their lives better. Like that's content marketing, is all the information. Video is nested within that. Video is how you share some of that content, and it can also be how you sell. You can decide for yourselves, and a formula is going to feel right around how much video you want to do. Do you want it to be your main content, or do you want to supplement, right? So everyone's going to have their own formula for what it means. For me, it's like drives almost a lot of what I do. And then like maybe email marketing second, and then whatever else is going on is like lives in this third very important place. So as you experiment, the best way to keep experimentation and up-leveling your skills from taking over all of the time, right? Because it's so easy when we get like all excited, like we're gonna do it all, and then we lose steam. It's just understand where it's nested in there. Okay, so Kari really likes the idea to pause and be okay with pauses during the live sessions. That really helped my frame of mind when preparing for that. The outline also helped so I didn't fail when getting interrupted or sidetracked. Gotta love the pause. I'm taking use of pauses. For example, whose birthday was it? Before I told Andrea, take all the time you need. I have notes. Whatever you need to do to prop yourself up so you feel like you can deliver a good experience for the viewer, do that. So we talked about like where video sits in everything and why video matters, because people are like, it's video all day right now in 2020. We also talked about the different types of video that you can create, and we'll see a few of those examples from our members that tagged me so that we can share it here. So a few examples are a demonstration, Q&A, behind the scenes, polling your audience, creating something that's asynchronous, as in like meant to be consumed later, or like a valuable resource that you can go back to over and over again. So we'll talk a little bit about how to engage, like how we use video to tell the story of the content we want to share. We also talked about how to create a watchable video, right? There's all kinds of video. And so sweet, Tracy from our community had said, instead of us submitting a question, she said, I need to get better on live video. And I read that and I was like, yeah, me too. Because everyone does. If we don't aspire to get better, it may mean that our medium or our format becomes stale. Yes, there can be ease, but like no matter where you are, there's always room to grow if you want to grow. So when we think about creating watchable videos, it really is about taking our very real nervousness and our very real fear and saying, yeah, that exists. But what's more important than that is that the person on the other side feels what I want them to feel and learns what I want them to learn and hears what I want them to hear, right? That's like how you create a watchable video. And then we want to think a little bit about like how to get people to stay like magnets the best that we can, knowing that there's folks who pop on, people who pop off, some people that are just going to say, like I did this week, thanks so much, can't wait to watch the replay. Like, what is that real reason, the high value reason? Some people would call it a call to action. Sometimes the call to action is check out what I got to sell. And sometimes the other call to action is I've got some juicy info here. Give me 15 minutes, we'll get to it. That's the recap. Did I forget anything that you think is a valuable recap that you took away from last week that you want to make sure someone knows who's just joining us today? I'm going to do a little dance if anyone has anything special to share. I can't see all the participants. Oh, let's go to the, let me see all your beautiful faces here on the second screen. Hello. Okay, from Andrea, start small. Small steps are okay to learn while you go. Yes. I always, when I'm adopting a new practice in my business, I want to do the things that are sustainable, environmentally sustainable, scalable, and the things that I can actually imagine myself doing for like the rest of my business life, right? So there are one-time efforts where like I have to migrate my email service providers. That thing is a one-time effort, that's it. There are other things like committing to email marketing or showing up on video that could be seasonal. Whatever you sign up for, it's okay if it's smaller, if you feel like you can do it over and over again. Darcy says, it's okay to let your own personality shine through on your video. Yes, I love that. I feel like some of my favorite moments when I watch live video is when I can see the personality through the unexpected. So unexpected things could be, I spill my coffee and like, how are people responding to the fact that like I spilled coffee on a light carpet? Or the dog comes in and says hello because something's up, the dog wants to know what's up. Like all of these little things show personality, like what's going on in the background, what your environment is, what you're listening to, all these things are really important. Even when your personality is shy, even when your personality is to speak with intention and more slowly. I am like and fast. It's great to show a personality that's the opposite of that, because that's the interaction someone will get with you to begin with. Thank you for sharing all that. I love it. Okay, so Snow says, letting known when you'll be posting videos. Give people an expected time to catch you if they can. Yes, that's the whole concept of allowing people to be as successful customers and successful followers and like in the know as they want to be. And so sometimes we feel like the promotion is like blatant, shameless self-promotion. When we reposition it as being a service to let people schedule a calendar that's already full, that's what it is. So letting people know when you're posting your videos helps them be successful, but also helps you feel a lot better. Malia says, one of the things that she took away from last week was a resource for live streaming. Malia, you're welcome. So Stephanie Liu from Lights Camera Live is an amazing, amazing mentor when it comes to live streaming. If in particular you want to get down with YouTube, I recommend Rob Balasabas. I will send his name to Andrea because it's a longer last name, but Rob Balasabas is like really specific to YouTube. Stephanie Liu from Lights Camera Live is Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and then as Amazon starts to like pick up, she'll be your person for Amazon too. Okay, this is good. Y'all took away a lot. That makes me excited. Okay. So when it comes to how you make things fit right for your brand, like let's actually talk about personalizing and best practices because we've been speaking extremely general. What is useful for you when you live stream? How did you actually decide to go about it? So one example could be, I suggested like a really nice fleshed out outline. How do you outline? I want to know. How did you feel? Like, how do you feel doing video? And how might you do things differently? So the questions are, what was useful for when you created video? How did you actually make these things your own? Or make any advice around video your own? What did it feel like? And what would you do differently? Like, these are the things. So I'll share as you type. I want to see those hands get busy. Okay, so for me, I like a very detailed outline. Like this was my outline from last week. Probably this represents, you know, we were together for an hour and that was just like an outline. I don't really offer a lot in the outline, but like it gives me enough. Yesterday, I had to go on live video. It was a really dense day. I was committed to about 45 minutes. It wasn't not going to happen. And I couldn't actually get to it until about 30 to 40 minutes before I went on. And I was like, what am I going to do now? I had to take a process and actually cut it down. And what I did was I sketch noted. And so I just drew pictures. So I didn't even have to think about writing the words. And I knew that like sketchnoting with pictures was going to guide me through kind of like a scavenger hunt. 10 minutes, that was fine. It was going to have to work. So that's how I made something work for me. I was nervous about whether or not it was going to happen, but I committed to doing it. There were people I was accountable to just because I said I was going to do it. And I knew that they would help me roll through the punches. What would I do differently? I might actually, here's what I've been wanting to do. One of the challenges with Instagram is you get mirrored, right? So like on Zoom or on Facebook or YouTube, I can hold up a piece of paper and you can read it. Instagram mirrors it. And I've been wanting to get a clear acrylic dry erase board so I can write on one side and hold it up and people can see it right side. So in the meantime, I've done it once. I've like literally taken apart a picture frame and taken the glass and done it. I've gone through a lot of paper with really, really thick Sharpie and showed it that way, but I want to do something a little bit more sustainable. So That's what I learned yesterday. Okay, so Jennifer says, yes, don't wear clothing with brands or words on it. It's distracting. Yes, so there's a, yes, okay, so I love that. The concept is addition by subtraction. Like, how do you enhance the experience by taking things away? Before I set up, because this is kind of a new setup, I had a different wall hanging, and something about the angle of my camera made the thing look like sideways. And I maybe spent about like 2 minutes trying to fix it, and I just decided to take it off the wall. Addition by subtraction. Sometimes being in front of a bookcase can be really distracting because people want to know what books you read. Like if I'm chatting, I want to know what books other people might be having in their background. Those are great. Also too, with clothing, branding, and words, we run into potential liability issues. I'm just hearing from some of my favorite live streamers, including Stephanie, that there can be issues uploading videos with music. So as you think about winning videos, you might create a video that gets so many views, or a reel that gets so many views, and you think something about this works. I'm gonna put paid money behind it. Sometimes you can't actually turn ads on depending on what you have in the background, and music can be prohibitive to that. So like for me, I like music in my videos. I'm like thinking through that, right? So simple, you run into less issues. So Crystalline says, I would have made my video much shorter. I need to get an hourglass timer to keep it short. My live video yesterday was 6 minutes long. Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about length and why I felt like I was okay with it. We'll talk about that, Crystalline. Like I thought your length was fine because you did a studio tour and it was 6 minutes and 22 seconds. I like that you brought up timing. Freya says, I took too long to begin talking about the product. And here's what's so interesting is I didn't feel that way. So Freya's video was 1 minute, was 1 minute and 37 seconds long. And we are always so critical of ourselves. So anytime you get love and feedback, just receive it. Simmer in it because we always want better. So we can talk a little bit in the case studies about timing, and we can talk a little bit about intros. Okay, so here are the videos that I want to review. We are going to, let's just share my whole screen. Though I hardly ever recommend sharing a whole screen because you never know what's on the screen. So I'm going to talk about like videos we're going to review. Then we're actually going to review each video as in like what's in it for me as a viewer and why do I care as a viewer. And then we'll talk about intentionally connecting with your audience. So our 4 volunteers, thank you. Genuinely, thank you for tagging me. So that we have content, and thank you for being open to like sharing it with everyone. This is like awesome promotion. So Freya from Snapdragon and Thistle, her video, or excuse me, I don't know your pronouns. The video is how to recycle your tea caddies. It's a DIY video. Jennifer from Satsuma Design, Upcycled Pumpkins Project. To me, that's a demonstration video, and we'll talk about why. Crystalline from Crystalline K Accessories. Hello from our new studio in Seattle. It's behind the scenes. And then Kari from Puddles Barkery. I said it incorrectly last week, so excuse me, Kari. Picky Dogs Q&A. So that was a Q&A. Let's go in. We won't watch each video in its entirety, but I want to talk about each one in order from briefest to longest. And there's no judgment in short or in length. It's just an easy way to organize. Does that sound good? Andrea, you show up on my side screen. So if there is a comment or a question, can you just give me a thumbs up so I can read it? Oh, here, hold on. I see the chat. Look at me getting better at Zoom. Okay. Oh, someone is saying something is very cute and I like it. Okay. So this is how to recycle your tea caddies. I had mentioned it was 1 minute and 22 seconds. That doesn't really, oh, 1 minute and 37 seconds. And this is an episode, if I'm correct, Freya, that you created and then you uploaded it to IGTV. So when you're reviewing videos of other people, if you put your mouse on the little dot, you can slowly go all the way across, right? So Freya's telling us about her personality, about the tin she's using, what she's doing with it. And she's like potting plants in a recycled tin, one of her favorite tea brands. So she sets us up with a story, and then she goes away and she does the work. And then she comes back and she shows us the finished product and what she'll do with it, right? So that's the video. I love reviewing things like this. Okay, so for me, the way that I experienced this video is that it's a DIY video, in that she walks us through what we need in the beginning and then shows us the finished work. A video where we see it happening in real time, to me, that's a demonstration. So this is true DIY. One of the things that I appreciated about this DIY is that she cut out the whole portion of us seeing how she does it, in the essence of keeping the video short so we can get through a whole narrative without a lot of time. Some other ways to do that could be in a pre-produced video to record hyperlapse. You know that thing? And then you insert it. The cutaway is just fine, because by and large, most people know how to repot a plant. That content already exists out in the universe. It's easily Googleable, and it's not super specific to what Snapdragon and Thistle is known for, right? So how much of your time do you want to dedicate it to a thing that's outside of the realm of your pillars of content? I actually appreciated the arc of the story, because even though it felt like it took you a while to start, it was a full narrative. Here's what I mean. I got who, why, what, how, and where in this minute and a half. And I needed all of that to feel satisfied with a minute and a half. If I don't get that whole arc, I sometimes feel like it's a little like bait and switch, or I feel let down, and I don't know if I want to watch those kinds of videos again. So who? I got some great information about personality, likes to drink tea. Great, you want to know that from this brand. Thinking, like, loving this particular tea so much that you want to keep the tin and reuse it. Like, that tells me a lot around that. It also moves into the why of like why you're using it and why you're creating the video, right? So personality, then we move into the why. The what piece of like what you actually need to do. I could appreciate that you didn't show me how to repot a plant, because I know how to do that, and a lot of people do. Then you come back and you tell me how you did it. That's all we need. And then where you were going to put it was like a perfect cherry on top, because we want to know that these cute things are going to be somewhere and I can actually imagine it. So I really appreciated that piece. Freya, how did you create your outline? Like, if you want to unmute yourself, you can, because I'd love to know how you created your outline, or how you produced it.
It was, so first of all, the reason I chose to do it the way that I did is because my camera has broken. So I had to set it up. I can't do selfies. So that's why I had to set it up and do it that way. And I was running back and forth. I guess I'm just very aware that obviously you have a very specific time where you can grab somebody and grab their attention. So I wanted to keep it fairly short and succinct. I was actually going to video, actually potting the plant, but then I thought, it's going to take so long that people aren't going to be interested. And as you say, they already know. And I just wanted to get my personality across, so they know that there's somebody behind the company. It's a human person that you know, so that was important for me to do the talk and the speech beforehand. But really, I just kind of went with the flow. Yeah, that was pretty much it. I didn't really have an outline at the beginning. I just knew that I wanted to show people, obviously, the punching of the holes underneath isn't necessarily something that people would think of. You just put it in the pot, but actually you do need the added drainage. So that was probably something that was a particular point that I did say. But other than that, I just kind of went with the flow.
I love that you use what you have, and you have to use that camera that's on this side and not the camera that's on this side. And like, you don't need to buy anything new for that, right? So I think I can definitely appreciate, I think as creatives, we tend to produce really good work when there are more constraints. If we have if the world was our oyster, sometimes it's hard to actually level up the quality of creativity. So I appreciate that. And if we think a little bit about how to repurpose your content, and if you really love this video and want to attract more, I might even make your plants in that tin a bit of a, like a mascot, where it might be featured in a few different places, right? In other videos,
That's
in the
a great
background, or in your photos, or however you style it. Because when you do, or if you do that in a story, you can actually link your video and people can swipe up to watch it. So I'm all about, yeah, if you've already created it and it works well and you like it, it gives you a chance to show people, to put it in front of people again if they didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
Also reach out to sea-made tea companies to use their vessels. Fun co-branding. Ooh, that's like a nice tip for Jennifer. Love that. Co-branding opportunities. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Thank you, Freya.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on to like our second example? Yay! Let's just give everyone some love because it's hard to do these things. Okay, so let's share. Jennifer from Satsuma Design. Can you all see this on the screen? Okay, perfect. So this is Upcycled Pumpkin Project. And immediately, even before I started looking at it, I appreciated the emoji on the title. I don't know, it just made me happy. If nothing else, I'm just like automatically happy before I even watch it. So this particular one is 10 minutes and 26 seconds. It's a combination of, it's definitely DIY because you're not buying it. It's a project that we're invited to do ourselves. But because we actually see it, I consider it a demonstration. So I'm just going to put my mouse on the dot and hover so I can kind of see the full scope. So we see this, hold on, the finished product. We're like seeing some materials. We're seeing Jennifer put it together. And she's chatting, and we'll talk a little bit about the kinds of information that Jennifer shares. I'm sorry, I'm saying she. If that is incorrect, please let me know. So then Jennifer is walking us through all of this. And then we see the end. Great, 10 minutes, 20 seconds. Here's what I appreciated about this, Jennifer. The introduction that you shared and the way that you set up the structure reads a lot like a recipe. And so many grown-ups have been reading recipes for a very long time, even the ones of us that are not cooks. If you are instructing students at home, oftentimes homework looks like a recipe. Like, here's what we're doing, here's what you need, and that defines the scope of the demonstration. Like, is this for me or not? And I like that you define that up front rather than letting that reveal come towards the end. Right? So I don't know about any of you, but sometimes I see recipes and they look so good. And then like 15 minutes in, I realize that there's a specialty ingredient. And then I'm automatically out. So this video pre-qualifies who it's for and then walks us through. I like the invitation that you can invite your littles with you, like younger children in your household, that the materials can be found, hence the upcycled. And in particular, because you were showing a demonstration, that a piece of your demonstration was already pre-created, so that we don't have to watch the entire thing. We're not watching, here's the sweater, then I cut it, but you're telling us what you've done before, and then you're giving us a sense of any quantifiable anything, right? So I didn't know that that was 8 inches of old sweater until you told me that was 8 inches of old sweater. I didn't know that that was 2 yards of embroidery floss, because I'm not a sewer, but I would definitely attempt to try that, till you told me that was 2 yards. So you really subtly embed important information where it needed to be embedded without all the hype, all the hype, all the hype, all the hype before you got going. I also appreciated the conversation you had to pass the time as you were doing things like stuffing. So twice you said when people can join you again. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. See, boing, locked in the brain. So I appreciated that. And then in other times, after you've shared the most important information, you had an invitation for your community to tell you what else they want. In about a 10-minute video, those calls to action, that's a good number of calls to action in 10 minutes. I'm here again. Tell me what you want. I will show it to you on Tuesdays, right? So that's like a good flow for about a 10-minute video. And I especially appreciated how you wrapped up with what to expect next, even if you don't have next week's topic nailed down or like put in your calendar. You shared enough for a viewer to know, yeah, I'll come here next week, especially if I like this. The personality bit, to go back, you shared what your favorite way to decorate is during the fall. Like, you've let us know, like, you like to decorate in the fall, and I appreciate that. So Jennifer, if you want to unmute your mic, I'd love to hear a little bit about this experience for you.
Thank you, Chris. That's so generous. I had so much fun doing it, and I feel like I was thankful, obviously, for your tips that I was able to incorporate. Interesting that you said you got a good sense of materials needed, because afterwards I felt like I didn't mention the hot glue gun and the length of the sweater sleeve, but I'm happy to hear that you felt they came at the right time. I wasn't sure. It felt long, but then doing it, it didn't feel too long. And I'm so happy that you can just post these to IGTV and people can decide. I was also mindful of your concept of people popping in and out. So that's kind of, by the way, I had 3 viewers through the whole event. And I just got the sense that if I made it a little longer, then maybe people could pop in and out. And I think that flow felt good for future. And I'm kind of visualizing that demo format. And then also in terms of the outline, I practiced a number of times, and you can see I made other pumpkins. So I felt like that was a great opportunity to create my outline kind of in real time. And then I did have a sheet of paper that with kind of keywords. And aside from saying the word beefy about 5 or 6 times, which was an inappropriate number of times to use the word beefy, I thought it was okay.
I didn't even catch that.
Okay. I need to work on my vocab.
So you touched on a few things that I think could be helpful, even though the video is done now and you've posted it.
Yep.
How you can prepare viewers who are watching the replay. And this
Okay.
is good for anyone that does live videos, is after you're done posting it, if you are exhausted because it took it out of you, walk away. Like, literally don't take it to the finish line where like your metaphoric feet are aching and you've got like no electrolytes. Just like walk away. It's going to be fine. And then go back later when you have time to edit the description. And it could be really cool to go back in, Jennifer, and say, you know, this project, this material, this, you know, these materials, this amount of time, if you wanted to, right? You can decide that that could be very exhaustive or not. One of the things just to remember when anyone creates content on Instagram, it is not SEO searchable. So you're creating it within the ecosystem. The only thing on Instagram that is searchable by SEO is the profile. It doesn't make it any less valuable. Just think about like how much you're putting into it, and if you like that ecosystem. But you can go back in and still do that. Yes.
One question. Is there a smoother way to end the live? I mean, you could see me flail a little bit there at the end. End would not touch. How do you manage that?
Everyone flails, like legit.
Okay.
Because Instagram is a touch screen.
Yeah.
Every other platform you can use other remote devices. Everyone looks like this. Thank you. It's what every single person looks like. And if your thumb is off or you're hot or something's weird with your phone, sometimes you have to do it a couple times. It just is that. Everyone's just like that. I also feel like too, it's pretty common if you have engaged viewers that we get into this habit of like, no, you hang up. No, you hang up. It's fine. You're feeling an emotional connection and that's good. Yeah, it's okay. So Jude asks, if recipe, should you give a list of the items needed up front or at the end? Oh, that's a great question. I don't think it hurts to do both. And here's why. When we think about the way that we're taught to teach, you know, like what's effective learning, a preview and then a review, those things help end cap. It could be the exact same words. One could be longer than the other. One could be more detailed than the other general. I don't think it hurts to do both. So that's a good question. The second thing that you touched on, Jennifer, is this gut instinct that you had that if it was a little bit longer, people might catch it later and hop on towards the end. And that viewership is important, even if someone is just catching the last 2 minutes. So I like that you thought about that, because sometimes we think these videos get too long. But when we think about the concept of going in and out, it could actually be okay. And I think you were pretty successful in your 10 minutes. So I like that thought. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yay. Oh, look, I see a thumbs up emoji on Jennifer's screen. Whoever did that, yes. I see a few new faces here, so I'm excited to see your faces. Okay. Let's go on to our third review, which is Crystalline of Crystalline K Accessories. Are we ready? Oh, here we go. All right. So the title of this is Hello from our new Seattle studio with Seattle in caps. Yay, Seattle. Okay, welcome. Welcome back to Seattle, right, Crystalline? So this is 6 minutes and 22 seconds. Oh, I thought I put them in order of time. I didn't. There's another order here. It will make sense in a little bit. So we get to see, oh, see here, dog personality. Well, we saw the dog come in. And then we are going on a circular tour, right? Clockwise. We're seeing all the goodness, features of a couple of products. Some people are real nosy. Like, I love seeing this kind of stuff. Like, what you doing? What's going on? What inspires you? How do you organize it? Because even as another business owner or another creative or someone who just is like a lover of the brand, we get ideas from context. And you have to show context in order for us to like generate new ideas. So we're seeing this thing, a behind the scenes tour, all the goodness, and that's our video from Crystalline. So Crystalline, here are some things that were really amazing about this. You speak very clearly to your audience, and it's intimate. Not just in the proximity of the camera, feels intimate, like you're having coffee with a really good friend, right? So live stream videos got really popular on Periscope when people would mock and they would do this thing. I'm mocking. on my morning walk. I got over that real fast. It definitely works for a lot of people. For me as a watcher, I didn't feel good watching videos like that. But the intimacy is actually really quite nice. Also, the reality is like your arm is only so long. So unless you've got a selfie stick, which that takes special ability to maneuver a selfie stick, or someone is following you around, this is like true. You're really giving someone a behind the scenes look. So I think the format and the way that your proximity to the camera feels very true. But also, like, here are all the people I got to know in your video. Your dog, your dad, your grandma, Tiffany, a picky petunia, and the sister, I believe if I'm right, the sister of the person who helped you move. And the reason why I liked all of that, even though I don't know who any of these people are, is it shows so much of your personality about like what people mean in your community. So like, I actually really, really appreciated all of that. Oh, and Tuesday, right? Because you gave a shout out for Leftover Leather. The other kind of signal that you gave that this video is for your community is Fabric Friday. I have no idea what that is. Even though I'm not part of your community yet, all this stuff makes me feel like what's going on in there? Who are all these people? Clearly loves people. Something's going on Fridays. I want to know, like, right. So these are like awesome things that you did in your behind the scenes tours. You said hi to Susan, Nadine, I mean, like all these people. And then you talked a little bit about, you teased content and asked your community to tell you what they want to see, right? More fabric, a sample sale, these things in the background. So I really appreciated all of it. You also showed a little bit of quick demonstration, right? Like this dye on this fabric means this thing. And if I do it here, it looks like this. If I do it elsewhere, it could look like something else. And so that helped me visualize too, as someone who likes your product. I know what your thought process is. So that's really helpful. Those are all the things like I really appreciated about it. How was it for you, Crystalline?
Thank you. A little nerve-wracking because I've never done live. It was until COVID really hit and I had to leave my New York studio that I decided to just do a video because I was kind of like Blair Witch panicking, needing to leave kind of thing. And I got such an awesome response. And my boyfriend is a videographer, producer type person for sports, but he was like, do another video, do another video, do another video. So I kind of got into the swing of that, but to do it live scared the crap out of me. But I think it was good because I couldn't do retakes. I just kind of had to roll with it. Sorry, I completely just brain farted on what your actual question was. Sorry.
Oh no, you're answering it. And so have you gotten, well, just tell us, what is Fabric Friday?
Oh, so it's something that kind of died for a while that I decided I needed to bring back now because I'm finding more and more people really do want a fun, funky fabric on their bag, but they don't quite know how to accessorize it, or if they like a print, it doesn't always translate in a small size or a big size. And I just thought it'd be a fun way to really kind of, I started out doing a lot of vintage fabrics, and over the years, I've been in business almost 20 years, it's kind of gone to more plain bags, and I really miss the fun, funky, upcycled sort of aspect. So I wanted to kind of have that be kind of a pillar of content for me, and even just a pillar of where I started, and that's really what I love is the fabric. So every Friday introducing a different fabric. So it was kind of on a whim this last Friday. I just posted, I only have so much of this fabric left. I can make 3 of this and 2 of this. Should I make it? Should I not? And people just DM'd me on Instagram, and I made them, like, just went back and forth and was like, do you want it with this zipper? Do you want it with that? So it was almost an in-person experience, which I used to be able to do, but can't anymore. And everybody loved it. And they all sold. I actually was sad. I was like, I should have featured a fabric I had more of because I could have made more. So I think it will be a good way to kind of navigate my creative process and create a little more community around it.
You're getting some claps. This is like all these emojis on Zoom is new to me, and I love it. Just keep teaching me things, y'all. I love it. In the same way that the plant could work for Freya as continuity,
Yeah.
and getting to know the brand, that's the same way that you're using Fabric Friday. And I really like that. That consistency could anchor other things like videos on the fly, or be the seed that gives you ideas for videos, right? So rather than treating them both as separate work efforts, let one feed the other.
Like do videos on Fabric Friday as well? Or
maybe take whatever conversation points that come up on Friday from a community that continues to show up for you and in an area that is already high interest, and pluck one thing out or a few things out, and those can become ideas for video content.
love that idea.
And that way you're not just like thinking and like starting fresh every single time.
Thank you.
Nice. I love it. Yay. Okay, are we ready for our fourth one? I'll just say get ready for our fourth one. Okay, so our fourth video comes from Kari Cuddles Barkery. I'm going to do the same thing where I just go through this really quickly. And so Kari is speaking one-on-one to the camera and going through a Q&A, Picky Dogs Q&A. And Kari either added during or after the fact a description of what someone can expect in the video. And so that was really helpful for me to understand what I might be experiencing in this video. I saw a comment. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kari. Okay, so here are a few things that I noticed, that when you get content from Puddles Barkery, like you get to know Kari, but then you also get to know Cora. And that carried through kind of towards the end of the video when we were learning about what motivates dogs based on personality, right? Like adventure motivated, toy motivated, experience motivated. Pulling things in like personas allows people to quickly contextualize their own experience and connect some dots between experiences that you're trying to share. And though personas never ever are the end all be all of anything that we want to talk about, they're really quick vectors to open up a door of conversation. So I appreciated that you shared that. The theme of the Q&A was really clear. It's like picky dogs, great. And I saw that you had really conversational highlights. So I counted 5 points of what you talked through. That was like general pickiness. You talked about moisture and like quality of food, flavors, dealing, you know, like taste buds, which ended up becoming like a trivia thing in my at my breakfast table. And so you shared a lot, and I appreciated that you started with a few things. And I don't know whether or not you got questions up front, or you started with, these are the things I get asked often, or people need to be asking these things because this is the origin of the business. How did you start with your outline, Kari?
Yeah, so actually, from listening to I started to get some ideas from your session, and then I also had a Business Babes Collective conference that I went to on Saturday, and they were talking about, what was it? Turn your thoughts into context, and anyway, I thought about doing interview questions and like, what questions would I want to be asked, or what questions am I asked? And so I they mentioned starting with the story and having like a cold open instead of being like, hi guys, this is me, blah 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 blah, like all the time. So I kind of started with the story. I jumped right into it, and then I wrote, it's a very short outline. It's like only this big. That's my outline. But I had a bunch of notes because I was like, well, I could talk about, I don't think I ended up talking about allergies, but I talked about the motivations and like why most of the things are why my treats are different. Like the moisture, the real ingredients, the high value flavors, and I I wanted to kind of, and I tell the taste bud story actually a lot at events because people are like, "Oh, your treats are okay for cats?" I was like, "Yes, but did you know?" Um, and you know, it's very interesting, and like I said, it's a trivia thing, but also it's fun. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of went with it. I had points, and I did get people actually coming on the call, which was great. I think I maybe had like, I don't know, 8 people total jump in and on, and there were definitely 2 dogs that I recognized, or their owners, that jumped on and said, "Yes, I'm very, very picky," and a couple of them that I recognized from some of the events that I had then later followed, so they've seen me in person too. Oh, Andrea wants to know about the taste buds. So the
Well,
taste buds.
Here's what we're going to do, because I'm going to give you a strategy to satisfy the curiosity. So I would repurpose your content into either posts or stories, because you have pretty specific content pillars. And then that way, particularly if you share it on stories, you can relink the video, right? So we shared that earlier, relink the video, and then that gets people to consume the video. And so I'm just going to tell you, Jennifer and Andrew, if you want to know, you're going to have to watch the video. I'm just going to tell you that. And you can even take this content, like people are curious. Are you too? Want to know about taste buds? Or watch the video, and just like tease that out a little bit, because you actually had a lot of content. And so what you can do is use this as your original source, and you could actually probably really dig on this for a couple of weeks, and just put it in a couple of different places in a couple of different ways. And you don't have to think so hard about the next time, right? So we tend to produce a lot of content that we can extend a little bit further. So I really appreciated that. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So when I think through from a customer acquisition strategy and why each one of these 4 works in their own way, is that Freya's, it was short, it shared personality. For me, I think that with intention, that can be something for attracting new customers or new followers, because we learn just enough without learning too much. Whereas Crystalline's video was very like community focused, speaks to loyalty and pulling the people that are already appreciate you and appreciate the brand, bringing them in even closer, right? So even though one is DIY and the other is behind the scenes, you can still have this other subtlety of, do I want to be discovered, or do I want to provide more value for the people that already know me? And then when I think about both Jennifer's and Kari's videos, when it comes to expertise, Jennifer's shares credibility from an alignment of the passion and the purpose of the brand, because it's a different type of project than the work product, but it shows a lot of the heart of the passion. So that shows expertise in that way. Kari shows, so that shows the credibility. Kari shows the authority and the expertise, because there's a lot of technical information in there, right? So even though we're thinking about these high level categories, you can actually determine, based on what you want to accomplish in this point of time and what you want to sell, how long, how short, how deep of the information, like how deep in information you want to go, depending on who it is you're trying to communicate with. I just wanted to share that. So in terms of like ideas for like what's next, I would be thinking through continuing to include your community. So a few ways that I saw in videos are just like real-time shout outs. You can also, if a viewer contributes content on the live stream that you read out loud, you can tag them. Like make sure to listen out for this comment from X around Y. Like I've done that before, and that's really helpful because it shows that community is part of this content marketing. I would think about showing a dynamic passage of time, right? So a lot of my videos are like in one spot, and you see it a lot. So if you can't show a dynamic passage of time with graphics, you can do it by signaling with your words. So we're talking about this, like I want to talk about this before I talk about that. Or this is point 2 of 5 insights that I want to dive into a little bit more. It gives people a sense of where they are in the total scope, whether your video plans to be 5 minutes or an hour. I mentioned this earlier, but go back in and add a video description if you're called to, but it's really helpful. It's also helpful for you in terms of like, what were the high points of this experience? Now that I can step back, what do I want to remember? And then lastly, I would go back in and respond to every comment. Like Jennifer from Sendall, she and I are all about this, like respond to yo comments. Just go back, she's clapping because yes, you do not want to ignore, particularly if you're starting to add a new channel or something, just like make it as appealing as possible and give people shouts out. All right, in my last minute, you are free to drop off, but I got a lot of questions around gear. All right, so I definitely want to talk really quickly about gear because there was a lot of questions around like lighting, all this other stuff. Jen, thank you for joining us. Natural light is best, like legit, and I'm not sitting in natural light. I have a full lighting kit. I like things as simple as possible, and I use photo light bulbs. I can't see myself in here. I use photo light bulbs. So just Google that. And I put them in my lamps because I have a lighting kit. I don't want to set it up and take it down every single time my house is full. So I just like put these and move the light in front of me. Like this right here, I'm backlit, but it's not right behind me. So it's okay. That's a hot spot. I don't care. No one cares as long as it's not right behind you. But these things are lifesavers and you don't have to buy a whole kit if this plugs into your lamp or it screws into your lamp. But otherwise, just like pretend a window's right here. When it comes to cameras, I think Freya like really demonstrates this really well. Just use what you have. If it means that you can't live stream because you can't see it, try making pre-produced videos. Often the light is really what our issue is with the camera. We think it's a bad camera. It's typically bad light. Use what you got. Stability. I like anything. So most tripods will allow you to change your mount, right? So whether you're using something like this, like a teeny tiny, or like a really big tripod, you just need it on like one of these boots. I feel like I'm doing you YouTube makeup here. This is how they do. As long as you can put your device in it, right? So this was the very first one I bought for a couple bucks. As long as your phone is not gonna fall out, you're gonna be fine. Anything that holds your phone stable, but you can also just like prop it on a wall. If you want it to be intimate, holding it is fine. That feels very intimate. But if you're I use my hands a lot, so I can't be holding my phone. The two things that people hardly ever think about in terms of gear is more technical. So you need upload speed, right? So we think like, I have good Wi-Fi. I can consume all the information I want. What's more important is the giving and not the getting. So you can test your upload speed. Like I always just Google, test my upload speed. I do it on my phone. I do it on my computer. And you're just gonna wanna understand of the platform you're on, what's the minimum requirement, right? So Instagram requires a minimum of 1 gigabyte per second. I like to have people streaming at 3 to 5. My upload speed is 30, but like I live stream a lot, right? So you're just gonna wanna think about what goes up. And before you think, I need to buy more capacity, turn off the things you don't need, right? The extra laptop, the phone, the background apps, like tell people in your family, please don't go on my video. You can manage that without doing a whole lot, but you want good upload speed. And then you need to have a charge phone. If you're not going for longer than 10 or 15 minutes, it doesn't matter, but sometimes it really takes the power out of your phone. So just make sure you're charged. I think those are the things that people often forget. I like the phone, but don't like text is mirror reverse. Any ideas on how to fix that? Yes, I talked about that earlier. So a few things that I've done is I've just written, I am a writer on paper, and because I review them all, not everyone wants this. I've taken just like thin paper, I've used a Sharpie, I've written on it, like if I'm writing on this side, I show the back side because it shows through, right? Does that make sense? I've used a piece of glass from a frame with a dry erase marker, and then I show it through. If I had something printed, I used to do this on Facebook like in 2016, I would have my printer reverse the image. So if I saw it, it would make no sense, but on camera, it makes all the sense, right? So those are some of the things that you can do to reverse. Power users. I love a Bluetooth keyboard. This is just like really good content marketing, like little thing, because then it keeps your thumbs happy. You can just like type. Okay, so Jennifer Porter. Okay, so we're having conversations with ourselves. Perfect. Jennifer Porter's is Satsuma_design. Crystalline sewing machines were backwards. It is what it is. No one is surprised that Instagram reads it backwards. It's just like how things get consumed. There's nothing we can do about it. And so even though it irks us to no end, we got to just like put it on a pinboard and leave it be. Yeah, things like labels are just backwards. Otherwise, what I've done before is I've changed the camera, you know, where you can change it. I'm talking, change it, and then I'll like show the thing. If it is like that meaningful to me. If it's anything related to my brand that's meaningful enough, I would change that. Things like labels, mostly it was because I was in selfie mode, but I was terrified to use the front facing camera and go live and find out after the fact that things weren't in the frame. Yeah, that's the hard part about not knowing. I have in the past done this forward facing and looked at it here. It does not work on Instagram because Instagram takes over all of your audio controls and you get feedback. So it would be about testing, right? So like setting up your camera, testing, marking your spot, and staying in frame. All right, my friends, you're amazing. You did it. 2-hour masterclass on live video. I really appreciate you. Please keep tagging me on videos. Like I'm still happy to look at them at Merchant Method. And then between now and November, when Seattle Good Business Network has more content for you and more learning labs, feel free to pop over. I do live videos every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Lock it in. And there's a ton of stuff on the website. That's it. Boop, boop. Thank you, Malia. Thank you, everyone. I will be here. We're done with content, but I will be here if you want to ask me any questions. If Andrea doesn't mind keeping this open.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
No, you hang up. No, you hang up.
Hey, Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
So with the reposts, do you recommend like shortening the video or just reposting the video and saying, hey, check out more information on the taste buds at this time? Or how specific should you be with, I mean, mine was just over 15 minutes. So that's a lot of time to like scale through for one piece of information that they want to know.
I love that question because you'll get different answers from everyone. Like there's so many ways to do it. So I would approach it based on like what time you want to give, right? So someone whose sole job is to repurpose content marketing will download that video, trim it down and only show that. Like Who's got time for that?
Right.
Some people might, or you might hire someone to do that because that's important to you. What I would suggest, if you don't have time for that, is to tease it and then just link the video.
Mhm.
That's it. If you wanted to do the next level, I would tease it, link the video, and say like hints, or DM me for like the time start, or like at minute 4:16, I actually talk about this thing. You can decide to do that, but I kind of like the idea of like, people want to know this, it's in here.
I
And
like
make
that.
them work a little bit for it, because what was clear in your video is that you're displaying yourself as an authority, and like it all leads up to that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Elizabeth. Elizabeth says, I will find the courage to do this. Like, and I want to recognize everyone that it takes courage to learn something new.
May I ask a question, if possible, Chris?
Yes.
I specialize in no sugar added and special dietary pastries. So when I bake, I would have to explain why I'm using what I'm using. So most of the cooking ones that I have watched are basically, here's a recipe, let me make this, and thank you for the sponsors. And I don't get a tremendous amount other than I want to see what your technique is.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you meld these two together? Because when you're baking, you go away for, 20 minutes while this thing bakes, and then comes back and watch it deflate, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking.
So I think there's like two content pieces in there that you might be able to tease out and then point one to the other. So one really is around the no sugar, like around your alternative to conventional sugar. And that is technical, right?
Yes.
Like that is a compelling reason and a unique selling point. And so you can create content and videos just on that, and you should. The other is, and that shows like, it establishes authority, it positions you and the brand, it shows your expertise, it gives technical information, it signals to people who want to know about these alternatives, like this is for you. That's like really specific. Right. Then on the other side is like, I'm gonna demonstrate something for you, and you can talk about it quickly and then point to this other video and then resume your cooking. Because that's still, that baking still has a lot of value. And so it allows you to create two things that are separate. And chances are you'll do a couple of different baking videos, but you'll keep pointing to your authority videos over and over again, and you should. So I think that's a good way to marry those two.
Yeah, because it really is a lot of technical issues when you bake with alternatives of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. And that is just, could be its own pillar. Nico shares, I've also seen some bakers work around the waiting time issue by having already baked products that you transition to. Yes, the magical oven. Like the fast forward, like this already came out in a similar way that Jennifer pre-started.
Right.
The pumpkin. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so Kari said, okay, does anyone else have questions? Don't be shy. Okay. Thank you. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate you. Say hi to me. I'm at Merchant Method. That's all. I think that's all. I will let you all say goodbye. Then I'm going to give Andrea and Nico my virtual hug from over here.